You know, I always love it when it seems as if the writer is reading your mind. It's not as if I'm a complete psychopath and I think Richard Starking has mind control powers, Then again, could. Richard Starkings, are you a mutant? Do you have something to confess to us? But seriously, this comic book, it really improved. As for Mercy number 2, was I felt had a lot better flow to it. I I went into this comic book wanting to see how Richard Starkings and Abigail Jill Hardings, who is the artist, so let's give props to the artist, I wanted to see what they were going to do next. Because let's face it, not everyone is ballsy enough to write about Nazi airplanes. And I just wanted to see where they were going with that. And personally, I'm glad that I gave them the shot to the next issue. I feel as if you should allow an artist as well as a writer, who are artists in their own way, to express themselves, to tell us unique and interesting stories. And even though I personally feel as if the whole Nazi thing has been done till it's dead, I am willing to let a writer change my mind. I'm willing to let an artist show me a different perspective because you don't learn unless you're willing to explore and unless you're willing to open up and allow someone to tell you a story or their point of view. And I'm glad that I returned to this comic book. The great thing about this comic book is because Mercy's humanity is what's going to keep us, or what I feel myself, I can't speak for all of you lovely people out there, but what's going to keep me invested is a character that I feel at some level I can relate to. And in issue number 2, Richard gives me reasons to invest in Mercy, which is incredibly important. He tells me a bit about her life. The fact that she was struggling with her sales, the fact that she drove an overly expensive car, and she drove that Mercedes because she needs to impress her clients. And even though she couldn't really afford its upkeep, she had to sort of live off of the kindness of an elderly gentleman and his daughter who was resentful towards her because of that, resentful of her car, who judged her, and an old man who humored her and stuck up for her and asked for cigarettes when he was dying. That was great little touches into it that brought in that appeal of mercy. And I get someone that feels as if they have to dress a certain way or they have to drive a fancy car because they won't be accepted. We all understand that need to impress others, to put on a face, so to speak, to represent the image of what we want our lives to be. We can relate to that. And Richard did a good job of introducing those elements into this storyline, which quite frankly impressed me. And I hope he keeps on going with it. There are some aspects that aren't as strong as of yet, because let's face it, he's only beginning to tell his story. This is issue 2, so we're not going to take a grenade and blow it all up. That's not the point. The point is to go on an adventure with Abigail and Richard and allow them to tell us a story. But I would say one of the weaker elements of this comic book would be her compadres, would be her partners in heroics, which are Bungie and I can't remember all their names, which is part of the problem. The native chickadee, as well as the French, I guess, vampire cafe owner. They're situated in Paris right now. But the fact that I cannot remember their names is a little bit of a problem. I think that Richard might consider having a splash page in the beginning with little descriptions of all the characters as a recap that would help me as a reader. I always love those. Somewhat what Marvel does at the beginning of their comics or DC, something that will remind us a little bit of their history and their backdrops, sort of cheat cards would be nice. But part of that issue is that they're not memorable enough for me to want to invest. That doesn't mean that I dislike them. I think that the vampire French cafe owner, he's very suave and charming in his way. The Native American woman, I really wish I remembered their names. I was flashing through the comic book and I couldn't find them and I gave up. That's how sad it is. Um, but yeah, basically, she was strong in the aspect of I love her confidence. She's a very confident woman. She's a bit standoffish, but I get the feeling that she's standoffish because she doesn't want to get attached, that she's lost people, which maybe he'll tie into her heritage, which would be nice. Um, Bungie just seems like a lovable sort of puppy dog guy, which is why I remember him, which is good. The villains are a little bit too standardized cookie cutters. Ooh, I'm a scary head Nazi guy. Which I'm hoping that he puts a little bit more tension into those villains, hypes up how horrible they are. Especially when he's writing about a time period where Hitler in World War II took people because of their religion and their faith and said that they were less than human. Took Jewish people, Jewish children, the elderly, normal everyday people that were living their lives based on their religion and said that they weren't worthy to live and gassed them and killed them. Massive amount of people, millions of people, and killed them. So if you take this time period and you're saying you're placing our heroes in this time period, then you got to be respectful towards that. You can't just use it as a backdrop, which I have faith that Richard is not going to do. I have faith that he's going to present this adventure story in a respectful manner, that he's going to tell us an adventure story, and he's going to, even with the magical twists, still show us the villains. She'll show us the villains and still show us a story that is worth reading and that isn't going to put less credence to the horribleness of that time. I have faith in that, which is why I think you guys should pick up Ask for Mercy. I think you guys should pick it up, allow him to take us on this adventure, give him a chance to tell us a story. And I think in the next issue, we're going to see some good development. We're going to see stronger villains. And I have faith in this little comic book. I think it's going to be great that we're going to see something new and interesting with this. This is Sue from Edge of Comics. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my review. I know I didn't tell you anything about the end. That was purposeful. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate you. And keep on having adventures. And have a lovely day.